get started. Okay, so every Sunday we go over the market. Sunday is one of the most important days in the market because we get a new weekly candle on Bitcoin. And so on Sundays, I like to go over Bitcoin, talk about what I'm seeing. Usually what I'm seeing on Bitcoin is different than most people just because I like to think outside the box a little bit. Usually people have the same chart over and over and over again on Twitter and in these groups, and it's like once you see the same chart so many times, you start to almost think it's true. There's a lot of biases that you start to fall for. And so when I present my Bitcoin charts, they're not always right, but a lot of times they point out possible situations that a lot of people are overlooking just because they have this confirmation bias that over and over again they see the same chart. So, if they see that on the chart, then automatically they think it's going to happen. So right now, um, this is the chart I've really been using for Bitcoin right now. I'm going to go over it fully with everything, I guess from a beginner standpoint, just so everyone that's watching can understand. So we've been in this uptrend since about February 26th. I'm going to make this full screen. We don't need the stock. February 26th, bottom of this, I guess you could almost call it a cup, and here might be a handle. Since then, we've been following this trend line on the hourly, and it's been a really strong trend line. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, and then we broke it. So we have 4 touches. Just for something to be a trend line, you need 3 touches. But as you can see, we were following this trend line pretty closely. Let me actually take off all the other indicators right now. So what I saw today, this was really early this morning, right before I went to bed, is we broke this trend line. And it was kind of alarming to me because, we've been following this trend line for 6 or 7 days, and it's pretty important when I'm looking at Bitcoin. And so we broke the trend line, and then we see this really, really tight range. And a lot of people were saying this tight range, is a bearish rectangle or whatever. I didn't really outline this at all. But then we broke up, and now we're back at this resistance. When you have a trend line and its support, and then it breaks, it turns into resistance. And you can see we're having a pretty difficult time breaking through it. We've been trying to break through this for the last hour. You can see tried and failed, some buy pressure, some sell pressure. This is a really decisive point for Bitcoin. And not only do we have this trend line that I'm talking about, on top of that, we have a horizontal trend line right here. So it's not like there's just one trend line converging. This is 2 resistance lines, and we're obviously having a lot of problems breaking it. So, what am I thinking right now for Bitcoin? I'm staying out of it. Yesterday, I made a post and I said that this is no trade zone for me. It's just too risky, especially once I saw it break this trend line. This is where a lot of funky things happen. And if you're trying to be cautious and not do anything stupid, you just don't trade here. And I've learned that the hard way in the past. And right now, I'm just not trading right here because it's too risky. Either we break through these 2 resistances and then we're going to get a pretty extreme breakout, probably like 12K, 12.2K, or, we come back up, we get rejected, and then we could fall, to 11.1 pretty quickly, or even worse, if we go to the 4-hour, we could go back and retest this 48 EMA, which would be at about 11.8. So right now for Bitcoin, I'm going to go over the 4-hour now. That's just my 1-hour example. I really like to use the 1 and 4-hour. I think it gives me the best look altogether. Just going over the comments. I'm not going to talk about any alts today, but I'm going to talk about the alt market in general. I don't talk about alts on Sunday. That's for Tuesday's stream. So what I like about the 4-hour is we broke through the cloud resistance. The lagging span is above the clouds. It's another thing that you want to see. But again, we've just been plowing through these resistances, like just really strong ones. This is kind of a thick cloud. We broke through the EMA and the Kijun. So again, it's just a really risky zone between here and 11.7, 11.8, even down to 10.8. We could see a dip down to 10.6, no problem. So, playing in this zone is not fun, especially when you have people with a lot more money that are trying to influence the market. So it's never smart to be playing around in a really risky zone like this. Now, if you're a huge gambler and you want to take a big risk, go for it. I'm not going to give you my opinion of whether I think it's going to go up or down because it's really just too difficult right now to tell. Fundamentally, I don't see a reason that we shouldn't break out. But if you're looking at this technically, we got a lot of resistance to go through. And so the next day, even maybe the next hour, once this new weekly candle opens, is going to be really interesting for Bitcoin. So just to recap, Bitcoin, absolute no trade zone. We're watching it closely. We break up, we'll think about opening a long position to play the breakout. If we break down, really, if we break below this 10.8 area, that could be pretty bad. We could be going down to retest 9,000 or even 6,000. A lot of people are saying my Ichi settings are wrong. They're not wrong at all. Um, the big thing about Ichimoku is that it was originally designed for, well, people say it was originally designed for the stock market. The stock market's what was trading at the time, but Ichimoku is really based on market cycles and psychological cycles, not really necessarily the stock market 5 days a week. And so there's this big debate whether these Ichi settings are right or if you're supposed to double them for a 24-hour market. I have found that it's a lot more accurate to use the regular settings. 33 Moku, who was the guy who actually said to use the double settings, went back and said that the double settings aren't right. You do see some people using the original settings and using a second cloud with the double settings and checking both. But, these Ichimoku settings are right. As far as you can't prove that it's wrong because this is how they were designed. Not going to get into indicators. This is for the market analysis. So we know what's going on with Bitcoin. Now, the thing that I said at the start I wanted to talk about that I really don't like what I'm seeing is so much FUD going on right now with everything. Every single coin has FUD coming out. It's kind of weird. This isn't something that you want to see, especially when alts are in a really sensitive area, essentially. A lot of these altcoin charts are they passed their last support and they're really going to be in a free fall for a while if they don't bounce. So the thing about this FUD is the market is really emotional and the market is really easily manipulated, especially coins that trade with lower volume. Like the perfect example that I always bring up is KuCoin. The coins on KuCoin got hit so hard because there's like no volume on the exchange. So once something starts to dump, there's nothing to dump into. Like that's it. It just dumps and it dumps and it dumps and it keeps going because no one's trying to buy it. There's just no buy orders. So what we're seeing right now is a lot of FUD about ICOs with the SEC and the subpoenas. And I don't like what I'm seeing. I think that this just goes to back up where I think that the alt market is in a really sensitive spot, and that's why I'm staying away from it. There's just too many things that can go wrong with altcoins right now. First of all, I know I almost keep saying the same things, but nothing's changing. We're just watching Bitcoin. The first thing is a lot of these coins are trading at ridiculous valuations, just like beyond ridiculous valuations still. I don't like that. Second thing is we haven't seen a ton of development and we've seen literally no adoption. So, these coins don't have big developments coming out in Q2 for the roadmaps, or sorry, Q1 for the roadmaps. Some of them do, obviously, but there's been a mix of not meeting deadlines, pushing back deadlines, and like I said, just different little FUD things coming out on top of not meeting deadlines, pushing back deadlines, and just overall not a lot of main nets launching. So the thing that I wanted to get back to with the subpoenas about ICOs, I asked someone about subpoenas because obviously I'm not a lawyer, just a little bit more information about it. So people aren't worrying because they say it's only related to the U.S. and there's more than the U.S. But the problem is that uh, any ICO that had anything to do with U.S. investors, whether they're accredited or not, and this is just from my understanding, um, the SEC actually has jurisdiction to issue a subpoena. So that means that if the U.S. is involved at all, I'm pretty sure it's whether it's trading, investing in the ICO, or anything, the SEC can actually get involved and request information. And I'm sure a lot of these ICOs and different coins that are being traded are not being run cleanly. And so if we have any sort of problem with these requests for information from the SEC, obviously whatever coin has problems is going to drop drastically. But I think that will kind of bring the rest of the market down too because people will be selling other ICOs that are really recently listed just out of fear. And that's what FUD is: fear, uncertainty, doubt. So, if you have one ICO that's recently listed that something really bad happens, say exit scam, or the ICO is illegal and they have to refund customers, or something of that nature, like that's going to crash, like Confito did. I see it in the chat, 80 to 90% instantly, and then people are going to go, oh wait, I just got these tokens, and the SEC is issuing a bunch of subpoenas. What if my coin's next? And that could lead to people going to older coins or coins that didn't do an ICO. Any coin that did a pre-mine or just an airdrop is actually pretty much immune to the problems that ICOs are having right now, just because it avoids all of the legal problems, essentially. So I think we're going to see a return of pre-mines, and we're already seeing a lot more airdrops. And then all these ICOs are definitely going to be ending in private sales, and I'm sure that they're not going to even be offered to U.S. investors, whether you're accredited or not. And so, all these things just keep on adding up, and I keep looking at a lot of altcoin charts, and like I said, they're either at really strong support or they're just in this free fall, and I don't like the way it looks. That's why I'm kind of on the sidelines in the altcoin market. Same thing with Bitcoin right now. I'm just on the sidelines. I don't want to be trading in these times of great uncertainty. And so, if you're really risky and you're trying to gamble and either make or lose a lot of money, then yes, you could be accumulating alts right now. You could be trading Bitcoin on leverage in this area right here, where you're obviously going to see a big move in one direction soon. Me personally, I'm just enjoying it from the sidelines. I got plenty of other things that I'm working on. So, let me go to the chat now. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and start posting them in the chat. But I'm not going to be answering any questions on specific altcoins. This is a general market analysis, or anything about the market, or I guess really any questions that aren't just specific altcoins. Show me a coin in the whole crypto market that is worth its market cap. The whole market is based on 95% speculation. That's not FUD. That's just realistic. Yeah, I mean, it's a speculative market. There's no way to really value these coins right now at all. And that's another problem. The Neo tweet storm FUD was pretty hardcore today. So yeah, the thing about the Neo tweet storm is it wasn't really FUD. A lot of it was true. I'm familiar with a lot of the technology in this space, not at a high level, but I understand it since that's what I was pretending to learn in school. So the thing with Neo is that guy has some really good points, and Neo should not be having the problems that it is, especially for a what is it? Where's Neo? 7.7 billion market cap. You shouldn't be having really basic node problems. The meetup info. Yeah, so next Thursday, March 8th, there's going to be a meetup in Chicago. I started a Chicago cryptocurrency club. Every other Thursday, we're going to meet. I'm going to be bringing in different people from the industry, whether it's, CEO of a company, trader, just good names that can help share information, and we're going to network. These are going to be in Chicago to start off with, and they're free. Like I said, every other Thursday, and I post about it, and I'll post about it again tomorrow probably. Are you still bullish on exchange coins like BlockX, Legolas? Yeah, I'm still very bullish on exchanges. I don't see problems with centralized exchanges right now, especially ones that aren't, even the ones out of the US. Like, the centralized exchanges are going to solve a lot of the problems that I see now in the altcoin market, because a centralized exchange is going to be pretty strict with regulations. And if they're strict with regulations, they're not going to be listing coins that they shouldn't, just because they know they can't do that if they want to keep operating. So I think centralized exchanges will actually make it harder for these scammy ICOs or bad coins to get listed. And that in turn will be bullish for the whole market. So I'm still very, very for centralized exchanges right now. Do you think the purge will happen earlier than most people expect? If you're referring to the purge as the death of a lot of coins, I do think it will happen earlier than a lot of people expect. We're already starting to see it happen now. AI, like I said, I'm not doing specific coins right now. Do you think ETH will get hit as a platform for all these ICOs under subpoena? Yes, I do. I've been saying this for a little bit now that I'm really bearish on ETH. I don't like the way that the chart looks at all. Um, and the main, like I said, the main reason for the platform is ICOs as of now. Obviously, things can change, but there's just so much competition coming up with ETH that, first of all, it's not going to be the best player in the ICO landscape. It just is the first to market advantage. And second of all, scaling is such a big problem, and these new platforms aren't going to experience the same scaling issues. So I think that Ethereum evaluation right now is pretty bad. I'm not a fan of Ethereum at this price. When do you think the market would go up? I don't have a crystal ball. I just told you exactly what I see in the market, and if you can't interpret that on your own, then you shouldn't be investing. And obviously, another thing I want to bring up that I've noticed more and more, you gotta, when people give you information, you can't just listen to what they say. Like, there's so many different viewpoints that you can see every day on Twitter and Telegram, and you gotta really look into them and figure out which one you agree with. Like, just because I say something or someone else says something doesn't necessarily mean it's right. That's just what I think is gonna happen, and all of this is extremely subjective. So when you get all of these different viewpoints, you got to really dissect it and figure out what you think is going to happen. Like people are giving you the information, but you got to go through it yourself, or else you're never going to be able to learn, and you're never going to become uh, more experienced in the market. If you don't get a reply about the RSVP meetup, yes, that means you are on the list. The only way you would get a reply from the RSVP would be pretty immediately if we're out of seats. And if we're out of seats, I'll post pretty quickly. We're getting close, but everyone so far that's RSVP'd, there's room for them. What do you think of the Bitcoin one day? I actually haven't looked at it today. Like I said, when I look at Bitcoin, I usually look at the 1 hour and the 4 hour. That's just a personal preference because I've had the most success with it. So, like I said, everyone uses different time frames. Bitcoin one day looks pretty strong, actually. I don't see any reason that it wouldn't at least test the top of the cloud or, trade sideways through it. You guys know that I personally don't think Bitcoin is going to trade sideways right now, so I don't really see it going sideways through. Good thing we did pass through the 48 EMA. That's solid, so now we can use that as support. This is also not on a log scale. Another thing, some people use log scale. I don't. Um, so on my chart, we broke through the resistance. We still have horizontal resistance though. There's been some action in this area, so we can just throw it right here, right around 12K. Which also would be where we hit the cloud. So Bitcoin one day looks pretty bullish. We go back to the 4 hour. Like I said, 4 hour, I'm in a no trade zone. 1 hour, I'm in a no trade zone. I was showing you guys earlier horizontal resistance and a trend line resistance that are right here. So that's my take on Bitcoin right now. Lots of people saying alt season is coming back. Most alts look like they are restarting the cycle. Why do you think different? So most alts actually don't look like they're restarting the cycle. A lot of them are just bottomed out, so people think that they're cycling. But when coins bottom out, they still have to go through a whole accumulation phase. A perfect example is like ETC. Let's go to the daily. Why am I on Kraken? Um, Bittrex is fine. So like ETC, this is the thing. Everyone's saying, oh yeah, alt season coming, start accumulating because a lot of coins, they are in this area right here where they're getting towards the bottom. But if you notice, you get to the bottom, you spike, but there's a lot of consolidation right here. This is like months. So, once you get to the bottom, it's not just like, okay, alts are going to cycle again. There's a lot of time that people spend accumulating these. Like people with thousands of Bitcoin that are trying to put them into an alt before, they think it's going to go up. They can't just do it overnight. It takes them weeks, and they're doing that on multiple coins. That's why you see these volume spikes and accumulation zones, because people are trying to build up their stack without increasing the price because this is the price that they want to build it up at. So it takes a long time, and they'll manipulate it to stay in accumulation zone. If we go back and look at, I'm just going to pick a coin from here. Let's look at Lisk. Again, the coin I'm picking, nothing to do with the coin. It's just I'm trying to show, that's a bad example. Stratus. Stratus, perfect example again. Huge market cycle. It gets to the bottom, but look, it got to the bottom. This is 3 months almost, 2.5 months in this accumulation zone. I don't think that it's going to be another alt season anytime soon. These need to go through an accumulation zone. Um, and I also think that a lot of these charts, like I'm going to look at XLM and Neo, some of the bigger ones. Like look at XLM. There's no more support here. Where is this going to fall? The only place it can fall is to here, and then it's going to go through an accumulation zone, and then it will be time for the next cycle. If we go to Neo, we can see this exact situation just happened. Topped out, accumulation zone, bottomed out a little bit more. This is when everything was dropping. But you see, like, just because it drops a lot doesn't mean it's ready to go again. This is again 2 months of accumulation, 3 months of accumulation. Now you see Neo again. Pretty obvious head and shoulders here. If you don't know what a head and shoulders is, it's really bad if you're holding the coin. And we just broke this. So, Neo, another one. This is going to drop, in my opinion, keep dropping, maybe find some support like here. But again, that's not very strong support. So, a lot of these big coins, I don't see them in a good area. A lot of smaller coins, again, I just don't see them in a good area, and that's why I'm personally staying out of altcoins for now. This could change really quickly. It's a fast-moving market, but right now, this is my opinion, and that's what I'm doing. I got a good chunk of money to invest. I want to buy Bitcoin and slowly invest it to alts over time. Should I wait for Bitcoin to drop before going in? Ladder it? What's a good approach? I really like the slow and steady method. I like to accumulate over time for Bitcoin. I really don't think it's smart ever to just go all in on something. You want to buy it over time. If you buy some Bitcoin at 10,000, then it goes up to 15, 20,000. Cool, you just made a lot of money. If you buy it at 10,000, then it drops to 8,000. You can keep on averaging down. So that's always my way of entering trades. If I buy something and it goes up really quickly, then I made money. There's no point of FOMOing more into it. If I buy something and it goes down and I'm comfortable buying it at that level and I know exactly where I'm trying to buy it at, then I keep buying it. And then when it goes up, you average it down pretty good. Like I said, I'm not looking at specific coins today. This is just a overview of the market. So I'll give another 2 or 3 minutes for questions, and then I'm gonna hop off again. If you like my videos, hit the thumbs up button. It just helps more people see them, so it helps me out really easily. 20% gains is the new 40x. Yes, people are being very stingy on their gains. They are getting in and out of things really quickly. So if I put 25% in at 10K and it goes up to 12K, what's the next step? Do I put more in or do I wait now to drop? You really need to create a plan that works for you. It sounds like you don't really have a strategy that you're ready to start buying in with, and you want to have a strategy right before you start buying that you can follow. Because if you don't have a strategy, usually you're going to end up making um, possibly some bad decisions that you wouldn't have made otherwise. Sorry guys, give me one sec. Do you think Catalyst can still pump coins in this market? Yeah, Catalyst can always pump a coin. Like if a coin has some really positive things that come out about it, it's always going to increase in price. It's just people are taking profits really quickly right now when there is an increase in price. Things used to run 50 to 100%. Right now, things are running like 10 to 15%, and then people get out just because of the conditions of the market. Um, you know, it also just really depends on how you're trading. The thing I'm going to leave everyone with is um, you know, you got to find a strategy that works for you. This is something that I saw all the time, and the best example I have when I was in school. Like, I had a really different approach to school. I saw it as a system, and there's ways to get around the system. So, like, I didn't go to class. I didn't study that much. I would only study really specific things because I knew how to work the system. And so, a lot of times I saw people that would try and study the same way as me, and they'd get poor results. And then they'd wonder why they're getting poor results, and it's because that's a system that doesn't work for them. And the same thing in crypto. Like everyone has their own strategy, and you have all of these resources where you can see different people's strategies, but trying to copy the strategies isn't going to work for you. When it comes down to it, you are going to excel in a different area than another person. And when I say that, like, if you're following a bunch of day traders and you're a really patient person, then you probably shouldn't be day trading. Like you should be accumulating at accumulation zones and building really strong long bags. And so something that I want everyone to take away from this video really is you have more resources than ever. Like crypto's bigger than ever right now, and you can find so much information on it. 6 or 7 months ago when I was trying to learn, I guess almost 8.5, 9 months ago now, like there was nothing out there for me to learn from. There was so few people on Twitter that were actually posting real information. Like everyone's just trying to pump their bags. There was nothing about it in the media. So I had a really difficult time learning, and it took me a long time. But right now, you have such a good opportunity because there are so many different good opinions out there and people posting really good research and analysis. And so, if you want to succeed in the market, go and see what everyone else is doing and then learn why they're doing it and create your own strategy. And that's something that you can definitely do right now because of the conditions of the market. So I'm gonna sign off now. I'll be streaming again on Tuesday where I'll be talking about some altcoins, but don't expect too many new ones. Some guy got mad at me because I wouldn't talk about his coins when, I can't research 10 to 20 coins a day anymore. I just don't have time. And so when I'm streaming on Tuesday, I tell everyone if you want me to talk about a specific coin, go to my Twitter. There's a what's it called, a pinned post, and just comment it on the pinned post because that's where I'm getting the coins that I talk about from. So, I'll look into three or four of the most common ones, and I will talk about them then. All right, guys, have a good weekend, and let's see what happens in 30 minutes when this new weekly candle opens.